Most men walk through life in silence, not because they don't feel, but because they've been taught that their feelings don't matter. From a young age, they're told to give their time, give their energy, give their hearts, and they do, hoping that love will return, that loyalty will be appreciated, that effort will be rewarded. But slowly, something begins to crack. They realize the world doesn't work the way they were told. They love deeply and still get left. They provide everything and still feel unwanted. They try to be good men and are treated like they're invisible. The truth is painful but freeing. The world does not reward kindness, it rewards value, not emotional value, but structural value, power, purpose, control. Stoicism teaches us not to run from pain, but to understand it, not to hate others, but to see through the illusion they live under. The problem isn't women. The problem isn't love. The real problem is that you've built your self-worth in something you cannot control. When a man builds his life around being chosen, he gives up his power. But when a man chooses himself, he becomes untouchable. This video is not about bitterness, it's about awareness, because once you truly see how the game is played, you stop chasing and start building. You stop begging for validation and begin to walk with quiet strength today. You'll learn the Stoic truths that most men are never taught. You'll see relationships, emotions, and rejection through a new lens, a lens of power, detachment, and clarity. If you're tired of suffering in silence, if you're ready to evolve beyond neediness, confusion, and emotional chaos, then stay with me. This isn't a motivational speech. This is the philosophy of freedom. Let's begin. Number 1. Stop chasing love. Build yourself instead. Love is one of the most common and most destructive habits men fall into. Not because love is bad, but because the way it is pursued is rooted in illusion. When you chase someone, what are you really doing? You are telling the world, I am not enough on my own. You are placing your worth in the hands of another person, hoping they'll recognize it, validate it, and reflect it back to you. But here's the brutal truth. What is chased runs. The more desperate you become for love, affection, or attention, the more repelling your energy becomes. Why? Because neediness is the opposite of strength, and whether they realize it consciously or not, people are attracted to power, not pleading. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we can control. You cannot control how someone feels about you. You cannot force someone to love you, to stay loyal, or to give you the validation you crave. But what you can control is what you build. You can build your mind, you can build your body, you can build a life so complete, so powerful, that love becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing love and start chasing purpose, love starts chasing you, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because people are drawn to grounded, self-reliant energy. Love should not be the mission. You should be the mission. And if love finds you while you're walking your path, welcome it, but never abandon your path just to be loved. The Stoic man understands love that is earned through begging is weak. Love that appears as a result of self-mastery is real. So stop proving your worth to others. Prove it to yourself. Build it to yourself. Build the man you were meant to become and let love meet you there. Number 2. You are not valued for your kindness. You are valued for your strengths. Many men were raised to believe that being kind, generous, and emotionally open would earn them love and loyalty. They were taught to be the nice guy, always available, always accommodating, always putting others first. But over time, a painful truth begins to surface. Kindness alone does not guarantee respect. And worse, in the eyes of many, it can be mistaken for weakness. This doesn't mean that kindness is bad. Kindness is a noble trait, but when kindness is given without boundaries, without power behind it, without self-respect, it becomes servitude. And servitude is not attractive. Nature doesn't reward the nicest animal, it rewards the strongest. The Stoics understood this long ago. They didn't advocate for cruelty, but they believed that strength of mind, emotional discipline, and personal sovereignty were essential, not just for survival but for self-respect. In human relationships, the same rule applies. You are not admired because you give too much. You are admired because you don't need to, and yet you still choose to act with control, with grace, and with purpose. When your actions come from a place of insecurity, hoping someone will finally see your worth, that energy betrays you. It signals desperation. It places your power outside of yourself. But when you give out of strength, when you choose kindness while being fully capable of walking away, that's when your kindness carries weight. Women, friends, the world, they may appreciate your softness, but they respect your strength, your emotional control, your ability to say no. Your discipline, your refusal to break under pressure. That's what separates you, not your sweetness, but your spine. So if you feel invisible, it's not because you're not good enough, it's because you've been giving everything without demanding anything in return, including respect. You don't need to stop being kind, you need to start being powerful. Let your kindness be a choice, not a survival strategy. In a world that tests you daily, your strength will protect you, your strength will define you, and when you master that, your kindness will no longer be overlooked, it will be honored. Number 3. Emotional control is a man's greatest weapon. The modern world tells men to open up, be vulnerable, and express every feeling. But there's a difference between emotional awareness and emotional slavery. Stoicism does not teach us to suppress emotions, it teaches us to master them, to observe our emotions without letting them control our words, our reactions, or our destiny. Why is emotional control so powerful? Because the world constantly tries to provoke you. People will test your limits. Life will throw chaos in your path, and those who cannot manage their emotional responses become slaves to every external situation. A man who cannot control his anger becomes predictable. A man who cannot control his desire becomes desperate. A man who cannot control his sadness becomes paralyzed. But the man who stands firm, who feels deeply but chooses his response with clarity, that man becomes unstoppable. In relationships, emotional control is often the difference between respect and rejection. The moment you react impulsively, whether through neediness, jealousy, or rage, you lose the upper hand. Many men collapse when ignored. They beg when abandoned. They lash out when disrespected. But the Stoic man doesn't chase closure. He doesn't argue for recognition. He simply steps back. It observes and lets his silence speak. Because silence isn't weakness. It's precision. It's the refusal to hand over your power for the sake of temporary emotional release. Emotional control also protects your mental energy. When you stop reacting to every insult, every rejection, every moment of discomfort, you conserve strength, you gain clarity, and from that clarity, you rise. Understand this. Your emotions are valid, but they are not your guide. They are signals, not commands. The man who controls his emotions controls his life. He chooses when to speak. He decides what deserves his attention. He moves with intention, not impulse. That is real power. That is real masculinity. And in a chaotic world, that is a weapon more valuable than anything else. Number 4. Stop expecting fairness from a world that isn't built to be fair. One of the greatest sources of pain in a man's life is not hardship itself, but the expectation that life should be fair. From childhood, many are taught be good, and good things will happen. Work hard and you will be rewarded. Love purely, and you'll be loved in return. But as you grow, the truth reveals itself brutally, silently. The world doesn't operate by emotional fairness, it operates by power, perception, and nature's ancient rules. The man who gives everything to a relationship may still be left. A worker who sacrifices years of effort may still be overlooked. The one who stays loyal may be betrayed. This is not bitterness, this is clarity. And once you accept it, you free yourself from the prison of constant disappointment. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control, not on what should happen, but on what is. When you expect the world to reward your goodness, you give away your emotional stability to chance. But when you accept that life is not designed to be fair, you stop pleading for justice and start building resilience. You stop asking, why me? And you start asking, what now? In nature, the lion does not feel sorry for the gazelle. The storm does not apologize for the tree it breaks. The world moves with no regard for your feelings, and yet, within this harshness, there is power. Because when you stop expecting fairness, you stop being shocked by betrayal. You stop being paralyzed by rejection. You stop crumbling under pressure. You begin to expect resistance. And from that expectation, you grow strength. The unfairness of life does not mean you should become cold or cruel. It means you must become wise. It means you must navigate with discipline, not naivety. Don't wait for the world to give you what you deserve. Build what you need, protect what you create, and master your reactions to what you cannot control. Fairness may be an illusion, but your response is always real, and that's where your power lies. In a world that's not fair, the Stoic man doesn't beg for balance. He becomes the weight that balances himself. Number 5. Never make her your mission. Make yourself the mission. The moment you make a woman your mission, you lose the mission that truly matters, yourself. Many men fall into this trap. They meet someone, feel a deep emotional connection, and suddenly, everything else fades. Their goals, routines, purpose, and personal growth are pushed aside, all for the sake of keeping her happy, keeping her close. But this is not love. This is surrender, not to a woman, but to your own emotional dependence. You were not born to orbit around another person. You were born to build, to lead, to evolve. The Stoics believed in purpose above pleasure, in discipline over desire. When you abandon your path for someone else, you betray the very strength that attracted them in the first place. Here's a hard truth. When you make her your mission, she may admire your dedication at first, but over time, she will feel it. The loss of your fire, your edge, your center. And when a man loses his center, he loses everything. Women are drawn to men who are rooted, not men who float. She wants to feel your direction, not be your direction. Stoic man loves, yes, but he never forgets who he is. He shows up fully, not as a servant, but as a sovereign. Make your mission your own growth. Mental clarity, physical discipline, spiritual calm. Financial freedom. When a man walks this path with conviction, women notice not because he's chasing them, but because he's chasing something higher. That's what makes a man magnetic. Not obsession, not neediness, not emotional dependency, but focus, purpose, presence. Love her, but never lose yourself in her. Give her your time, but never at the cost of your ambition. A woman can be part of your life. She can walk beside you, but she should never become the destination. Make yourself the mission, because when you walk your path with power, purpose, and peace, the right people don't distract you. They align with you. And in that alignment, you create a love that is built not on desperation, but on respect. Number 6. True freedom comes from mastery, not from being chosen. Men spend their lives waiting to be chosen. Chosen by a woman, chosen by society, chosen by success, by love, by approval. But in doing so, they hand over the keys to their freedom. They live on edge, hoping to be accepted, hoping to be wanted, hoping someone sees their worth. And in this quiet desperation, they forget one of the deepest Stoic truths. You do not need to be chosen. You need to be in control of yourself. True freedom is not found in attention. It is not found in love that you have to beg for. It is not found in applause that fades the moment you stop performing. True freedom comes from mastery. Mastery of your emotions, your habits, your thoughts, and your time. A man who waits to be chosen will always feel uncertain, but a man who chooses himself every day, in every decision, that man becomes unshakable because he knows where his value lies, not in how others see him, but in how he sees himself. Think about it. How many men abandon their path just to feel accepted? How many change who they are just to keep someone who doesn't respect them? This isn't freedom. It's silent slavery. Stoicism teaches, be rooted in yourself. If love comes, let it find you standing firm, not kneeling in need. If success comes, let it meet you in your discipline, not in your desperation. When you master your impulses, your reactions, and your desires, you become sovereign. You stop chasing people. You stop needing validation. You stop fearing rejection. And ironically, when you no longer need to be chosen, that's when people start choosing you. Not because you're begging, but because you're radiating strength. Women respect a man who doesn't flinch when he's alone, who doesn't trade his standards for affection, who doesn't lose himself trying to earn someone else's presence. Mastery builds presence. Presence commands respect, and respect attracts what begging never will. So stop trying to be enough for someone else. Start becoming everything for yourself. The Stoics didn't live to be admired. They lived to be aligned with reason, with virtue, with truth. That is where your freedom begins. Not when someone says, I choose you, but when you say firmly, calmly, powerfully, I choose myself. Final thought, become the man who chooses himself in a world filled with noise, illusions, and expectations. The modern man often finds himself lost. He's told to chase love, to seek validation, to prove his worth to everyone but himself. But the Stoics knew better. They understood that peace doesn't come from being liked. It comes from self-mastery. It doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing yourself over and over again. When you stop chasing love and start building yourself, when you stop expecting fairness from a world that was never designed to be fair, when you realize that kindness without strength leads to being overlooked, you stop living as a prisoner to emotions and start living as a leader of your own life. True masculinity isn't loud, it isn't desperate, it isn't about impressing others. It's silent, rooted, unmoved by chaos, and forged through struggle, discipline, and clarity. You become powerful, not when others want you, but when you no longer need them to. Let others run in circles, let others beg to be seen. You walk your path with fire in your heart and steel in your spine, because when you build a life that doesn't require applause, you become the man no one can ignore, not because you shouted the loudest, but because your silence carried value. So remember this, you were not born to chase, you were born to create. Create strength, create direction, create yourself, and that is how you win.